It's James here from GoodGuitarist.com, and in today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to play Amazing Grace using just 3 chords and a very simple strumming pattern. This song is nice and short, super classic, very simple, and the one thing that we get to take a look at, I guess, is that this song is in 3/4 time, and all that means is that instead of counting to 4 over and over again, like we would like 99% of the time, in this tune, we're counting to 3 over and over again, and that's really important to get used to. You don't run across songs in 3 all the time, but you will, and this is a really good strumming pattern in this one that you can use on pretty much any song that's in 3/4 time. If along the way you find that you need any extra help, I have a bunch of resources, including my free ebook. All the charts, including this one, are available on my Patreon. I have my complete beginner's course as well as a few follow-up courses. So if you need any extra help, please look down below. Otherwise, we're going to get started with the chord shapes. Our first one is G. And I like playing my G this way for this tune. As you'll see later when we switch to D, there's a little bit of a trick to it. And if G is a new shape for you, or if you're just getting the hang of it, I recommend placing it in 2 parts. First, getting these 2 fingers down, and then these 2 fingers. So kind of, do that over and over again. Those two. Take your hand off. Those ones. Because that'll help build up your muscle memory, when you're making the chord shape. Eventually, you just want to be able to grab it. From our G chord, we're going to go to C. And this is definitely a trickier one out of all the basic shapes. So my biggest advice for this one is to make sure you're curling your fingers. Make sure your thumb is in the middle of the neck. You don't want it to be too low or too high. You want it kind of in the middle, facing upright. Don't let it, get off to the side like that or in any weird way. It's sort of in like the middle of our chord shape. If I just moved the guitar out of the way, my fingers would go right to my thumb. And once again, I have a lesson that just switches between G and C, and we practice going through it. So if you need extra help, I'll put that down below as well. The last chord we have is D. Now we're going to be going from D to G a few times in this tune. So a little trick for that is leave your 3rd finger down as you do it. That's why I wanted to do G that way, is so that we can use this trick and just pivot off that finger. So just try that a little bit. This is also a good opportunity to get used to moving your thumb, because as we switch from G to D, see how my thumb kind of is rotating? It's because when I'm on the G chord, this feels like a balance point for my thumb. But when I'm on the D chord, I want to put my thumb a little bit higher, and then it feels balanced. So take the time now, while we're in the chord switching phase, to iron out those little details, feel it out, see what feels balanced to you. Your fingers might be a little longer or a little shorter than mine, so they won't go in the exact same places. Find what feels good, and also, check your chord shape to make sure every note is ringing. In my free ebook, there's a page that goes over chord clarity, as well as videos for switching between all the common chords, like practically every combination. So check that out if you need extra help. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and strum these chord shapes using downstrokes only, just focusing on how many times we're going to do each chord. Starting off on G, 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. C, 2, 3. G, G, G. G, C, and G, G, D, G. Cool, so make sure you can do that, strum through the chords in order, counting out loud, counting up to 3 over and over again, nice and steady. You can just rewind, do that with me over and over again, or you could do it at your own pace. Before we move on and learn the strumming, let's just talk a little bit about the chord order. Now, if we look at this song in lines, you'll notice that the first line and the 3rd line are identical. G for 2 measures, C, and then back to G. And the 2nd and the 4th line, those are both G to D. So it's like the first line is G to C, 2nd line's G to D, 3rd line, G to C, and then G to D. Another good thing to do is as you're playing through it, just think about the tension. In this song, G feels like home. So as you're listening to it, whenever you hear it kind of like resolve, you know, we've reached home, right? D is like the furthest from home. This chord really wants to go back to G. You know, you can just feel that relaxation when you get to the G chord. And just keep that in mind to, as you're listening to it and as you're playing, you know, this is the start of you developing your ear. Eventually, this may not seem like it, but this does lead into you just being able to hear a song and hear what chords it is and being able to play it. You know, it all starts with hearing the tension and release. You know, it's just something to play around with. Don't get too caught up in it. Anyways, now that we've looked at our chord order, let's take a look at our strumming pattern. It goes like this. And that's pretty simple. There's 3 beats. On beat 1, we're doing a downstroke. And then on beat 2, a down up. And on beat 3, a down up. So 1, 2, 3. Down, down, up, down, up. Now, the first thing I recommend you do is take your time with it, get the motions. Down, down, up, down, up. Down, down, up, down, up. Then I want you to think about it with the counting. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. And 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. And. So try that out with each of the chord shapes, get used to it. There's no syncopation in this one, so it should be not too difficult to count as you do it. And I highly recommend you count both 1 and 2 and 3 and, as well as 1, 2, 3, skipping the ands. You know, it's the same pace as you just saw me do, but that'll help you get a hold of the rhythm. Now, before we put this together with the chord shapes, there's a couple variations I want to show you. In the first one, we're actually going to take out a downstroke. The downstroke on beat 3, we're going to get rid of it. We're going to miss the strings instead. So it'll go 1, 2, and miss, and. Or if you're saying the strokes, down, down, up, miss, up. And I would practice just beats 2 and 3 going down, up, miss, up. A few times just to get used to that miss if you haven't already done that with another pattern. And then put it together. Down, down, up, miss, up. Down, down, up, miss, up. 1, 2, and 3. And 1, 2, and 3. And finally, I have one more variation. It's kind of like level 1, 2, and 3. You know, down, down, up, down, up. That's the simplest one. Then level 2, we got rid of one of the downstrokes, which adds a bit of syncopation or offbeat feeling to our strumming pattern. And now finally, in that missing beat 3, we're actually going to do a root strum that'll just hit the low notes of the chord. It goes like this. 1, 2, and 3. So instead of missing, I'm just plucking the lower string of the chord. On the C chord, that's going to be this one right here. And on the D chord, it's going to be that one right there. And I like this one the best. It feels the most full to me, but it's also the most challenging. Breaking it down. 1, 2, and root, and. 1, 2, and root, and. And when I do that root, I'm kind of plucking outward so that I don't follow through the strings, you know? So 1, 2, and root, and. And once again, these are totally optional. You're welcome to just do the first strumming pattern that we went over. But, you know, it's always nice if you are very capable of that pattern to have something to challenge you. Anyways, we have our chord shapes in the right order. We got our strumming pattern. Let's put them together. Starting off on G. 1, and 2, and 3, and. Doing the first pattern here. Go to the next one. more time. So that's a very simple way to play Amazing Grace using just 3 chord shapes. If you want the chord chart that goes with this song, it's available on my Patreon. And if you want any extra help with the basics, with building up a proper foundation, getting your strumming together to the point where you can play through an entire song slow and steady, there's my complete beginner's course. I'll put a link to the thing down below so you can check it out. And don't forget to get my free ebook, which also goes over all this stuff and has a whole bunch of videos that go with this. So, if you need any extra help, I got you covered. Otherwise, have a fun time practicing, and I'll see you soon.